We teed up this topic a little bit in both of our earlier sessions, but now we're going to focus exclusively on that question of what policies do we need to move our innovation capacity forward, and what policies would actually hinder that capacity. Let me remind you that we're going to take questions at the end of this session, so please send them in via the app, Twitter, email, or again, for those of you in the room, on the index cards. Here to introduce our next two speakers is North Carolina State Treasurer. With more than 20 years of private and public sector financial leadership, she is charged with overseeing more than $90 billion in pension investments for the more than 875,000 active and retired public employees in North Carolina. These investments provide not only income for retirees, but needed capital to the companies in North Carolina and to many beyond. She is the first woman to hold the Treasurer's office. Please join me in welcoming the Honorable Janet Cowell.
Thank you, Anita, and everyone at the Emerging Issues Institute. I was very excited to have the opportunity to be on this panel about innovation with John Allison of the Cato Institute and Robert Atkinson of the Information Technology and Innovation Foundation. As treasurer, I've been sitting here this morning listening to the hue and cry for capital, so let me just give you a 1-minute update on that front. As you know, in 2010, we launched the Innovation Fund, which was a $230 million piece of capital from the pension fund targeted at high-growth companies here in North Carolina. And I'm happy to report to you that almost 5 years later, we have committed $200 million of that capital. We have a return that's over 20%. Yes. And 25% of that committed capital has been in venture capital. So it has gone to some of that funding gap at the early stage. I know that there is still a greater need than what the Innovation Fund has been able to provide, and talk about trying to have another pot that is even more focused on venture. I will be outlining my thoughts around that for the legislature, because we will need legislative support to do that. And I can tell you more about that maybe at the end when we talk about some immediate opportunities to fund innovation here in North Carolina. But let me focus first on Robert Atkinson, who will be our first speaker. And I will say that both of these men, actually, they have different ideas on how we should innovate in North Carolina and as a nation, but they do have some fundamental things in common. The first is they both are associated with UNC. John Allison went to UNC as an undergrad, and Robert Atkinson got his PhD there in urban planning. They both work at think tanks, as I mentioned. They have both written books, and I would recommend both of these books to you. John Allison's book is on the financial crisis and the free market cure. He's also got one on leadership and the free market cure. Robert Atkinson has written one on innovation economics. They both also agree that the Federal Reserve and the Federal Reserve policies had a large part of causing the 2008 financial crisis, spurring the housing bubble, and redirecting capital away from positive innovation, investment in the future of our country, and towards consumption. So that was a lost period of time, and that America really needs to get back on another track. I will let both of these gentlemen, and I'll talk more about John Allison when he comes on the stage, but let both of these gentlemen tell you their different ideas about how we get back on track, starting with Robert Atkinson. Thank you.